The fallen enemy moved slowly across the battlefield. His boots crunched over broken metal and black ash smoke curled around him, stinging his eyes. He kept his blaster ready. Even though the fighting had stopped, sometimes the enemy played dead. Sometimes they waited for you to come close before striking. He knew better than to trust silence. The sun was setting behind the hills. Long shadows stretched across the ground, touching the bodies that lay still. Eli had learned not to look too closely at the faces. It was easier that way. Less to remember when he closed his eyes at night. He stepped over a fallen machine and almost missed the movement. A small hand twitched in the rubble. He froze. Slowly, he turned his head. There, half buried under broken armor plates, was an enemy soldier. The body was too small for any of the known soldiers he had fought. A smooth silver mask covered the face, hiding any sign of who was underneath. He raised his blaster, aiming carefully. His finger rested on the trigger. One shot, and this would be over. But the figure moved again. The hand lifted, reaching weakly toward him. A muffled voice came from behind the mask. "Please." The word was so soft, he almost thought he imagined it. Eli did not move. His heart thumped hard in his chest. No one had ever begged him before. The enemy was known for fighting to the last breath, never asking for mercy. He took a slow step closer. The figure tried to push up, but fell back with a ragged gasp. He could see now that the armor was cracked open across the chest, dark blood soaking the fabric underneath. Whoever was inside that mask was dying. "Help!" The voice whispered again, strained and thin. Eli swallowed hard. He looked around. No other soldiers were nearby. No cameras. No one to see what he did next. His hand shook as he lowered his blaster. "Don't move," he said. Though his voice was not as steady as he wanted, he knelt beside the figure. He knew this was dangerous. She could have a hidden blade or a small explosive. But something inside him said this was not a trick. He pressed his fingers against the side of the neck, searching for a pulse. It was there, fast and weak. Alive. The masked head turned slightly toward him. Behind the smooth metal, he thought he saw the outline of eyes. "Don't leave." Eli closed his eyes for a second. He tried to tell himself to stand up. To walk away. This was the enemy. This was the one who had killed so many of his friends. But his body did not listen. He took a small tool from his belt and started to cut the straps holding the broken armor together. The figure flinched, but did not fight him. As the pieces came free, he saw more blood. Too much blood. She was dying. He realized then that the voice was female. He did not know why, but something about that made it harder to look away. He pulled the last strap free and set the heavy plate aside. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow breaths. "Can you hear me?" he asked. The masked head moved a little in a nod. He looked at the mask again. It was smooth and featureless except for a small vent near the mouth. Why did she hide her face? He knew the enemy wore masks to keep their identity secret, but now it felt like the mask was hiding something more. Something important. He reached for the small pouch at his belt and took out a white cloth. He pressed it gently against the worst of the bleeding. She let out a soft cry but did not pull away. "You're going to die if you stay here," he said quietly. Her hand lifted again, weak and shaking. She caught his wrist. "Please, don't leave me," she whispered. Her grip was softer than he expected, almost like she was afraid he would disappear if she let go. He looked into the mask, feeling his chest tighten. He could not explain it, but he could not leave her here. He could not pretend she was just another enemy body. He slipped his arms under her shoulders and knees. Her body was lighter than he thought. Carefully, he lifted her out of the rubble. Her head fell against his chest. She breathed in short, ragged gasps. As he carried her toward the hidden shelter, she whispered again, so soft he barely heard her. "I'm not what you think." He looked down at the mask, his heart heavy with questions. "Then what are you?" he asked. But she did not answer. Her breathing slowed as she slipped into unconsciousness. Eli kept walking. He did not know why he was saving her. He only knew that somehow, in that moment, he could not do anything else. The masked stranger pushed open the door to the small shelter hidden under the rocks. The room smelled of old metal and dust. He stepped inside, careful not to bump the woman's head against the doorframe. He laid her down on a folded blanket in the corner. Her breathing was still fast and shallow. Her chest rose and fell like she was running in her dreams. He stood over her for a long moment, unsure what to do next. He had never been this close to the enemy before, never held one in his arms, never felt their heartbeat. He told himself it was just a mission, just a chance to gather information. But deep down, he knew that was a lie. Her mask caught the dim light, hiding her face in silver shadows. He crouched down beside her. Her hand twitched near her side. Slowly, he reached out and took her wrist, checking her pulse again. Still there. Still alive. Barely. He took a small bottle of water from his pack. He uncapped it and lifted it to her lips. Drink, he said softly. For a moment, she did not move. Then her head shifted, and she took a small sip. Water ran down the side of her mask. He wiped it away with the edge of his sleeve. Her hand moved, brushing weakly against his arm. Why? Help me, she whispered. Her voice was hoarse, almost breaking. He did not know how to answer. He looked down at the floor. Because I couldn't watch you die. Because I don't want to be like them. Because I think I knew you once. But he said none of these things. Instead, he gave the only answer he could. I don't know, he said. She was silent. He thought she had fallen asleep again, but then she spoke. I'm not what you think, she breathed. He looked up sharply. Her hand lifted a few inches from the blanket, as if she wanted to touch his face. But she was too weak. Her arm fell back to her side. Rest, he said gently. He did not want her to talk anymore. He could see how much it hurt her. He pulled a medical kit from his bag. He cut away more of the torn fabric around her chest. Wound. The bleeding had slowed, but the injury looked deep. He cleaned it as best he could. She did not cry out, but her body shook under his hands. When he finished, he wrapped fresh cloth around her ribs. This will help, he said. Her masked head turned slightly toward him. Thank you, she whispered. He set the kit aside and sat with his back against the wall. His blaster rested across his knees, just in case. But as he watched her sleep, he felt no danger, only questions. Who was she? Why was her voice so familiar? Why did she speak like she knew him? Hours passed. Night fell outside. The shelter grew cold. He pulled another blanket over her. She did not wake. Her breathing stayed slow and uneven. Sometimes she made a small sound in her sleep, like a broken cry. Each time, it made his chest ache. He leaned his head back against the wall. He closed his eyes, but he did not sleep. In the darkness, he thought about all the stories he had heard about the enemy. There were monsters. Liars. Killers. But nothing about this broken figure in front of him. Looked like a monster. She looked like someone who had lost everything. In the middle of the night, she stirred. Her voice was only a whisper. Eli. His eyes snapped open. She had said his name. He moved to her side. How do you know me? He asked. Her masked face tilted toward him. Because, she breathed, but the words died in her throat. She fell still again. Eli sat frozen. His name. She knew it. He felt cold all over. He reached out and touched her hand, as if to make sure she was real. Her skin under the glove was warm and soft. He pulled back slowly. His heart thumped hard in his chest. He looked at the smooth mask and felt fear he could not explain. Who are you? Why do you know me? He had no answers, only the promise he made to himself as she lay there. He would not leave her behind. No matter what the truth turned out to be. The voice in the darkly did not sleep that night. He sat against the cold metal wall, listening to her breathing. Sometimes it was slow and shallow. Sometimes it stopped just long enough to make his heart jump in fear. He kept his blaster near his side, but his hand never reached for it. He knew he could not point it at her now, not after hearing his name in her voice. A small lamp glowed in the corner, casting soft light across her mask. He studied the smooth surface again and again. He felt sure he had seen that mask before, but where? When? The hours passed slowly. Just before dawn, she stirred. Her gloved hand twitched on the blanket. Her head turned a little, as if searching for him. He moved closer and spoke softly. I'm here. Her breathing quickened. Eli, she whispered. Her voice sounded thin and afraid. He swallowed. How do you know my name? He asked. Her chest rose and fell with effort. I remember you, she breathed. He felt something cold crawl down his spine. From when? He asked. She did not answer right away. Her hand lifted a little, reaching for him. He took it carefully in his own. Her fingers were warm but trembling. You were kind, she whispered. Long ago. Eli searched her voice for anything familiar. He thought of the small village they had tried to save 2 years ago. He thought of the people he could not protect. His throat felt tight. Were you there? He asked. She nodded weakly. I was just a girl, she said. His heart twisted. He remembered a girl with bright eyes, hidden behind a broken wall. He had carried her to safety before the fire swallowed her home. He remembered her hand gripping his arm, just like this. His voice came out rough. That was you. Yes, she breathed. Her masked face turned toward him. I never forgot. He felt his chest ache. He had thought she died when the enemy took over. Now she was here wearing their armor. He looked down. Why? He whispered. Why fight for them? She took a slow breath. I had no choice, she said. Her voice broke on the last word. She sounded so tired, so sad, that he did not press her further. He only held her hand a little tighter. For a while, neither of them spoke. The wind moved outside, making the shelter creak softly. Her breathing slowed again, but she did not let go of his hand. At dawn, she woke once more. Her head turned toward him. Will you kill me? She asked softly. Her words cut into his heart. No, he said. Why? He looked into her mask, even though he could not see her eyes. Because you asked me not to, he said simply. Her fingers tightened around his. I'm so tired, she whispered. Then rest, he said gently. She swallowed hard. When I wake, I want to tell you. Her voice trailed off. He leaned closer. Tell me what? She took a shaky breath. Who I really am. His heart beat faster. Then you have to stay alive, he said. Her hand relaxed in his. I will try, she breathed. He sat back slowly. He could not deny it anymore. He did not see an enemy lying there. He saw the girl he had once carried. Through the smoke, the girl he thought he had lost. He closed his eyes. He wondered if he could ever look at her as an enemy again. He wondered if he wanted to. The hours passed in silence. He checked her bandages, cleaned her wounds, and gave her sips of water. Each time she woke, her eyes turned to him behind that silver mask. She never looked away. By evening, her breathing grew heavier. Her hand trembled when he touched it. Eli, she whispered. Yes, he said. Promise. You won't leave me, she said weakly. He felt his throat tighten. I promise, he said. Her fingers rested on his. Thank you, she breathed. Then she fell asleep again, her hand still touching his. He sat beside her long after the lamp burned low. He kept thinking about her words. Will you know who I am? His heart was heavy with questions. But deeper than the fear, something else was growing. A small, quiet hope that maybe she was not lost. Maybe neither of them was. Asterisk the enemy's secret. Next morning, the shelter felt colder. Eli woke with his back against the wall and his blaster in his lap. His neck ached from sleeping sitting up. But he did not care. He looked over at the figure lying under the blankets. Her chest moved slowly. Proof she was still alive. He let out a breath he did not realize he was holding. When he moved closer, she stirred. Her gloved hand shifted on the blanket. Eli, she whispered, her voice so weak he almost didn't hear it. I'm here, he said softly. Her masked face turned toward him. I have to tell you, she breathed. He felt his heart thump hard in his chest. Tell me what? She swallowed. Her breath rattled in her throat. I am not just a soldier, she said. He waited, afraid of her next words. I am the one who gave the order, she whispered. He frowned. What order? Her fingers curled into the blanket. The one that destroyed your outpost, she said. The words felt like a punch to his chest. He remembered the smoke. The fire, the screams. So many good people had died that day. He had thought the attack was planned by some high commander he would never meet, but she was saying it had been her. The same girl he had saved. His hands felt cold. He stood and turned away, staring at the metal wall. For a long time, he did not speak. He felt her eyes on his back. I'm sorry, she whispered. He closed his eyes. Her voice sounded so broken. So tired. He could hear real regret in it. He wanted to hate her, but somehow he couldn't. Why did you do it? He asked quietly. She took a slow breath. Because they told me if I didn't, they would kill the children, she said. He turned slowly to face her. What children? Her voice shook. The ones they took from my village, she whispered. Her hand lifted weakly. They made me choose. He swallowed hard. His anger mixed with something else, something he did not want to name. He tried to imagine being in her place. Choosing between strangers and people you loved. He could not say what he would have done. Her voice broke the silence again. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said softly. Her masked head sank back on the blanket. But I wanted you to know the truth. He looked at her for a long time. The person he had blamed for so much pain was not a monster. She was a girl who had been forced to choose, and now she was dying in a cold shelter with no one but him. He moved back to her side. Her breathing was shallow and ragged. He rested a hand lightly on her shoulder. She flinched but did not pull away. I don't know if I can forgive you, he said honestly. Her fingers twitched. I understand, she whispered. But thank you for saving me, even after. Her voice faded to a thin rasp. He pressed a water bottle to her lips. She drank slowly, her hand lifting to steady it. When she let go, she looked at him. I am so tired, she said. He nodded. Double quotes rest, he said gently, her head turned toward him. If I don't wake up, she whispered, promise me you will take off my mask. He felt his throat tighten. Why? Because you should know who I really am, she said. Her hand touched his for a moment, then fell away. He could not answer. He only nodded, feeling something deep in his chest he did not have words for. Outside, the wind picked up, shaking the shelter walls. He looked at her sleeping form, the mask shining in the pale light. He tried to imagine what face was hidden underneath. He tried to prepare himself for what he might see, but no matter how hard he tried, he knew nothing could prepare him. And yet, in that moment, he also knew something else. He would keep his promise. No matter what. The pursuit wind howled around the shelter. Eli did not sleep. He sat with his back to the cold wall, watching her chest rise and fall. Her breathing was thin, uneven. Every time it stopped for a moment, he felt panic tighten inside him. Just after midnight, he heard a low rumble outside. He stood quickly, blaster in hand. The rumble grew louder. Lights moved across the cracks in the metal walls. He knew what it meant. Enemy scouts. They were searching for survivors. And they would find her if he did nothing. He knelt beside her. Her eyes opened a little, the blue glow of the lamp shining across her mask. We have to move, she whispered. You can't walk, he said softly. She swallowed. You have to carry me, she said. He nodded. He was already wrapping her in a blanket. The door rattled under a heavy knock. He felt his heart thump hard. Her gloved hand caught his arm. Please, she whispered. Don't let them take me. Her voice was so full of fear it broke something inside him. I won't, he said. He lifted her carefully into his arms. She felt lighter than ever, like she was slipping away even as he held her. Her head rested against his chest. Her breath was warm against his collar. He stepped to the door. His hand hovered over the release switch. He knew the moment he opened it, they would see him, but there was no other way. He took a slow breath and pressed the switch. The door slid open with a loud creak. Cold night air rushed in, sharp and full of smoke. The enemy soldiers turned toward him, weapons raised. Stop, one shouted. Eli did not stop. He ran. Blaster fire lit the dark. Bolts cracked past him, burning the rocks at his side. He kept running, his boots pounding the ground. He did not look back. Her hand clutched his sleeve, weak but holding on. He reached the line of boulders at the far end of the clearing. He ducked behind them as more shots hit the stones. She gasped softly, her breath ragged. Put me down, she whispered. No, he said. He checked the small device clipped to his belt. It still glowed green. The rescue signal was working, but he did not know how much time he had left. The soldiers' voices called out, Come out, you can't escape. Eli pressed his back against the rock, breathing hard. He looked down at her. Her head rested against his chest. Her mask tilted up toward him. Her voice was only a thin whisper. Eli, I can't go much farther. He shook his head. Don't say that, he said softly. You have to hold on. Her hand lifted slowly. If I don't remember what I asked. Her fingers brushed the edge of her mask. Promise. His throat felt tight. I promise, he said. Her hand fell back to the blanket. Her breathing grew slower. He swallowed hard, trying to keep fear from choking him. He peeked over the rocks. The soldiers were searching near the shelter. He knew he had only moments before they turned this way. He shifted her weight carefully in his arms. Then he started to move along the rocks, keeping low. Step by step. He carried her toward the narrow canyon that led to the hidden valley. The path was rough, and steep. His boots slipped on loose stones. But he did not stop. Every time he felt her grow heavier, he whispered to her, "Stay awake. I'm here. You're not alone." She did not answer. Her head rested against his shoulder, still and silent. He felt her breath on his neck, shallow, but still there. That was enough. He would not let her die here. Finally, he reached the canyon mouth. The shadows swallowed them, hiding them from the searchlights behind. He stopped for a moment to catch his breath. His arms ached, but he did not set her down. He looked down at the smooth mask resting against his chest. He thought about the promise he had made. "Will you know who I am?" His heart twisted. He was afraid of that truth, but he was more afraid of losing her before he could hear it. Far behind them, the soldier's voice grew fainter. He turned and walked deeper into the canyon. Every step took them farther from the enemy and closer to whatever truth waited at the end of this night. Asterisk, the last breathy canyon grew darker as Eli carried her deeper inside. His boots crunched on loose gravel. Every few steps, he looked down to check her breathing. Her chest still moved, but very slowly. To slowly. Moonlight fell in thin lines through cracks high above. It touched the silver mask resting against his shoulder. He could not look at it for long without feeling something sharp in his chest. So many questions. He had no answers for. So much he still did not understand. He reached a wide ledge and stopped. He could not go any farther without resting. He knelt and set her down as gently as he could. Her head turned weakly toward him. "Eli," she whispered. He brushed her cheek where the mask met her skin. "I'm here," he said softly. Her voice was faint and rough. "I can't breathe." He swallowed hard. "I'm going to help you," he said. He pulled the small med pack from his belt and set it beside her. His hands trembled as he searched for the air injector. He found it and lifted it to her mask. "This will help," he whispered. She nodded, just a tiny movement. He pressed the injector to the vent near her mouth and clicked the button. A hiss of clean air flowed into the mask. Her chest lifted as she took a long, shaky breath. For a moment, he felt hope. But when he looked into her mask, he saw her eyes flutter closed again. "No," he said, his voice breaking. "Stay awake." Her gloved hand lifted slowly, searching for him. He caught it in both of his. Her fingers felt so light he was afraid they might slip away. "Eli," she whispered again. He leaned closer. "I'm here," he said. "Listen," she breathed. Her voice was just a thread of sound. "When I'm gone, remove my mask." He shook his head. "You're not going," he said. "You're going to live." Her hand squeezed his weakly. "Promise." He swallowed hard. "I promise," he whispered. Her head rested back against the blanket. Her breathing grew shallower with every second. He pressed both hands over hers. He could not remember the last time he had felt this helpless. "You can't leave me," he said softly. "Not without telling me who you are." Her head turned toward him. "I wanted to tell you so many times," she whispered. "Then tell me now," he said. Her voice was fading. "I was afraid," she breathed. "Afraid you would hate me." He shook his head, feeling tears sting his eyes. "I don't hate you," he said. Her hand lifted one last time, brushing his cheek through the glove. "You were kind," she whispered. "You saved me twice." Her fingers slipped away. Her breathing slowed to almost nothing. "No," he said, his voice breaking. "Stay with me." He bent over her, his hand pressed over her heart. It was still beating, but so weak he could barely feel it. Moonlight touched her mask. He remembered her words. "When you know who I am." His throat felt tight. He realized he was crying. He had promised her he would not leave, and he would keep that promise. Her final breath slipped out like a sigh. Her chest did not rise again. He waited, hoping for another breath, another heartbeat, but there was nothing. Eli bowed his head, his tears falling onto the silver mask. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." For a long time, he could not move. He just held her hand in the dark. Finally, he lifted his head. He wiped his eyes on his sleeve. He knew what he had to do. His hand reached for the edge of her mask. His fingers shook. He was afraid of the truth waiting underneath, but he could not run from it anymore. "You deserve to be seen," he said softly, and remembered. With a slow breath, he slid his fingers under the edge of the mask. The last thing he whispered before he lifted it away was the only thing he had left to give. "Thank you for trusting me." The revelation. Ellie's hand shook as he lifted the mask. The smooth silver shell felt cold in his palms. He swallowed hard, afraid of what he would see. But he had promised her. He would not break that promise. Slowly, he pulled the mask away. Moonlight touched her face. For a moment, he could not breathe. Her skin was pale, almost glowing. Dark hair framed her delicate features, but it was her eyes, now closed forever. That made his chest ache, because he knew them. He had seen them years ago in the village he tried to save. He remembered a little girl hiding behind a broken wall. Her eyes had looked up at him with the same mix of fear and hope. No, he whispered. Her name came back to him like a memory he had tried to bury. Sora. He touched her cheek with shaking fingers. It was her. The child he thought he had saved. The one he thought had escaped. But she had never escaped. She had been taken. Turned into this. I'm so sorry, he whispered again. His voice cracked as tears fell down his face. He wished he had known sooner. He wished he could have saved her twice. He rested her mask beside her on the blanket. He closed his eyes and tried to steady his breath. All the anger he had carried in his heart felt hollow now. All the hate seemed like a mistake. Because under the mask, she had still been the same girl, the same soul who had whispered his name with her last breath. He sat beside her for a long time, holding her cold hand. He thought of all the things he wished he had said, that he was proud of her for surviving, that he had never stopped wondering if she was out there, that he had never hated her. Not really. The dawn was breaking over the canyon when he finally looked up. Soft golden light spilled across the rocks. It touched her face, warm and gentle. He liked to think she would have smiled at the sunrise. A low hum grew in the distance. He turned his head and saw a rescue ship appear above the cliffs. It was painted white, the mark of his own people. They had found him at last. He stood slowly, his knees stiff. He looked down at her one more time. You deserve peace, he whispered. He bent and lifted her in his arms. She felt lighter than ever. He wondered if that meant she had finally let go of all the pain. The ship lowered into the canyon. A ramp extended toward him. Soldiers in white armor rushed down to meet him. They stopped when they saw who he carried. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but he could feel their confusion. One stepped forward, his voice calm. Captain Eli, is that an enemy? Eli looked down at her face. He shook his head slowly. No, he said, not anymore. The soldier hesitated. Double quote, sir. What do you want us to do? Eli took a slow breath. Prepare a place on the ship, he said. She's coming with us. The soldier nodded. Double quotes, understood. Double quotes. Eli carried her up the ramp. The ship's doors closed behind them, sealing out the cold wind. Inside, the lights were warm. He laid her carefully on a stretcher, covering her with a clean blanket. He placed her mask beside her hand. He stood there for a moment, feeling empty and full all at once. He knew there would be questions. He knew people would not understand, but none of that mattered. He had seen the truth, and it had changed him forever. He rested his hand over hers one last time. Her skin was cool, but he liked to think some part of her still hurt him. Thank you, he whispered, for not giving up. The engines hummed softly as the ship lifted into the sky. Eli walked to the front, but before he sat down, he turned to look back. Her face was calm now. Almost peaceful. He knew he would carry her memory for the rest of his life, not as an enemy, not as a soldier, but as the girl he had saved, and the girl who, in the end, had saved him too. As the ship rose above the canyon, the sun touched the world in gold, and for the first time in a long time, Eli felt like he could breathe.